Welcome back to another episode of Hot Mess Espresso, guys. She is the assistant coach to Next Level Universe, a holistic badass, and one of my favorite homeschool mamas. We have Amy Lenius on the podcast today. Hello.
Hi, Heather. So excited to be here.
I'm so excited too. So to kind of circle back to the first part, assistant coaching, like how did you even become a part of Next Level and then the assistant coaching, like how?
Yeah, so you know all about Kevin and Alan. Have they been on your show? Has Kevin been on your
Kevin
show?
has twice.
Nice. Hard act to follow, that man. So I'll do my best.
Look, hosting an episode with him is a hard act to follow because he's so eloquent and he's so like, and then like he kind of is asking me questions and I'm like, okay, like we're almost like co-hosting. It's great. It's a great time. But yeah, it's a hard act.
It is. He asks the best questions. Oh my gosh.
Oh, so he does.
Kevin and Alan, Next Level University, founders of Next Level University. They have a daily podcast. They have all sorts of different departments. And I fell in love with them through their podcast. I discovered them through their podcast. And they kept saying the word holistic and holistic self-improvement. And that had become my favorite word before I had even been introduced to them. I was obsessed with the word holistic because I had been on my own health journey where I found that that word was the embodiment of actually getting better, of understanding that your body is a community. One thing affects the other. Your external environment affects your internal environment. Like there's so much. And what we do constantly is put these things in boxes. We put our health into different boxes, parts of our body into different boxes. And we also put our holistic being into boxes. And so they were talking about health, wealth, quality of life, and love, and how we can do better in each and have it all in each. And I was like, oh, yes, I love that. Because we get told all the time, well, you can have a successful career, but you're going to have a shitty love life then. Or you can be a really good mother, but then you can't be a good wife. And all of these other things, you can be a good mother, but you can't have a career. Or vice versa, you can be a really good career mom, but you can't be a good mother. Like all of these other things. And so that never resonated with me at all. And I loved how they were speaking about holistic self-improvement. And so I really resonated with them, started working with them. I had my own podcast for a little bit. So I was working with Kevin. I was coaching with Alan for a little while. And then Chris and I did relationship talks with Alan and his gal Amelia. And then one day I hopped on a call with Alan. He asked to hop on a call with me and he asked if I wanted to help them with live events. Because I had done a lot of public speaking leading up to this. I spoke on women's health, holistic women's health. I used to have a presentation called Holistic Healing for Your Hormones. And I would teach people about natural ways and understanding their bodies and all of this really cool stuff. So they knew I had this public speaking background. So they asked if I could come in and be their MC and help with the live event. And it just kind of proliferated from there. I kind of bounced around and helped them with different departments. And then I landed into coaching. I'm assistant coach in their group coaching program, which has my heart genuinely. And I coach through them as well. So I have my own one-on-one coaching practice, as well as we teach coaches how to coach. We have all this beautiful things now. I've been with them for 2.5 years now, and a lot has happened since then. But it's been a really aligned partnership, and I love them so dearly.
So you do a couple of different types of coaching, right? Like you have a women's group that you coach, and then the big group coaching with NLU and stuff like that. Doing both types of coaching, what is kind of your favorite aspect of it?
My favorite aspect of both kinds of coaching is actually just the privilege I get to be behind the scenes in people's lives and see what that's really like. I get to see that all of us are struggling in one shape or form, and that I love connecting the patterns too, especially in women. You can tie these journeys that they're on, whether it be a health journey, a relationship journey, a financial success journey, anything, to these two beautiful pillars of self-belief and self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you can bring their core wound into that, genuinely knowing those three levels and supporting each one can help you in any journey that you are on. So to see that across the board, whether I was helping them with women's health or I was helping them with just their holistic success, whatever that looks like to them, it's amazing now to look back and see what I was missing when I was helping women with just their health. And so I would talk to them. I'd be on stage talking about all of these really cool things. I'm a big nerd, so cool is kind of a loose term there. I'm talking to them about anatomy, physiology, how their bodies work, how they can learn to work with their bodies, and how fun their hormones can be, and all of these things. And what would happen is I would go up there, I would sound good, it would all sound great, but they would go home and lose momentum in anything that they had heard from me because I had shown them that it was possible. But what the gap was did they believe it's possible for them and would it be worth it? And
Right.
there's a huge gap there.
Mhm.
Huge gap. If you don't believe it's possible for you, or you don't believe that you have the capabilities, so low self belief in doing that, then I'm missing a piece of the puzzle in helping you. And so when I was able to expand into holistic self improvement with Kevin and Alan, now I can bring all of that cyclical health to women, but with the tools of here's maybe why you're not succeeding in this self belief, self worth. What's your core wound? What are you craving? What are you missing? How much fulfillment plays into women's just general being of happiness and joy is so important. So when I was just focused on their health, now it was an expansive program. We talked about mental health and stress. Stress is ridiculous on women's hormones, but it still wasn't getting to them at the root of, okay, what is your actual level of self-belief? Because I'm speaking to a group of women like they have level 10 self-belief in making this happen. And what a mistake.
Yep.
So I've learned so much through this that now I love holistic self-improvement because I feel like I have the tools to not only help people from the foundation up, but with any success journey that they are looking to go on. Success is such an individual term, right? Whether you're looking for health, anything, it can be such a broad term. I think we only think financial success when we say success. But to be able to step in and help these women. I mean, I coach men in group coaching as well, but typically women come and are drawn to me for the one-on-one.
Right.
It's really awesome to be able to have the tools of both. Okay, here's your holistic health, here's your health as a woman, and how can we bring that into your fulfillment, your success, your journey of motherhood, entrepreneurship, whatever that is, and meld the two. And it's just wild to be able to put those two together. So I have a deep love for both, but I've seen now that with partnering with Kevin and Alan and learning more about holistic self-improvement, as well as helping them bring all of this in as well, has
Mhm.
been just the best.
Yeah. What's kind of been the most surprising part of coaching? Like, what was the thing that like you went in and you were like, did not expect XYZ?
I did not expect, that's a good question.
Sometimes I have a couple good ones.
I love that. I think I didn't expect, actually, I've loved learning the difference between myself and others and
Ooh.
learning the skill in not projecting my level of self belief and self worth into the expectation I have of the others and the people that I'm helping. So that's been wild, learning to not project my beliefs of myself and my capabilities and my self worth onto others and coach them at their level of where they're at and learning to do that versus where I'm at. That's been really, really fascinating, not only for my own healing and my own journey, but in how I help others.
Yeah. You had shared something on Instagram either yesterday or like 2 days ago about one of the groups that you're coaching, and one of the questions that was either you presented or one of your clients presented, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was something along the lines of like, do you feel like you don't get like as excited about hitting goals because like you're just expected to hit them or something along those lines? And it was just like, well, shit, because I feel like there is such a like weight on and pressure on women to just accomplish these things. And it's like, well, of course you accomplish it because you should, or we knew you could, and nobody really celebrates it anymore. And that was just like a crazy. What kind of feedback did you get on that one? Because that question was just like, like
Yeah.
I need to sit with this for a minute because I think I just hurt my own feelings reading this.
Yes. So this is actually, it's a group I have just in WhatsApp. It's a WhatsApp community dedicated to helping women with their self-worth. And so
Mhm.
it's literally just started. It's a small little group right now. And I do hope to grow it and have as many women in there who need that kind of support as possible. Because one, it's so nice to be seen in a space where everyone else also has lower self-worth and we're working towards that together. But the question was, do you struggle to celebrate your accomplishments because you felt obligated to achieve them?
Yes, that. I was like, I should have just looked it up, but
Oh,
I'm
no,
like,
no problem.
we're gonna try and remember this.
I would have never remembered it except for how you went through it. It reminded me of how the question was phrased. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that so much. And so it was because typically the women that I attract and even the women we attract into Next Level University are women with higher self-belief than higher self-worth. They have higher beliefs in what they can achieve externally versus what they believe they're worth internally. Those are two separate pillars.
Yeah.
And so when you ask a woman that question with low self-worth, not only does she not ever feel worthy of celebrating her accomplishments, it's because she feels obligated to keep achieving these things for the sake of even feeling some sort of worth. Women's worth is placed so externally in society. Our worth is based on how good of a mother you are, how good of a wife, how good of a partner, how good of a sister, how good of like a community member are you? How it's constantly looked through the lens of who am I to other people, which is why that
1,000%.
for women so much.
Well, and to kind of like add to that, you could be the cream of the crop, like great mother, sister, wife, daughter, and someone's still going to look and go, not how I would do it. And it's like, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Like, as long as they're strapped into their car seat correctly, that's a big one. Oh my God. I'm not a parent, but like, I have enough mom friends to know, like, I can eyeball when the chest clip, oh my God, is not as high as it needs to be. And I'm just sitting there like, God, I'm not mom shaming, but like, that is literally 3 inches, like, lower than it needs to be. Like,
here, at their throat or on their belly, and you're like, no, sternum.
And we're just like, love you. That's where it needs to go.
Yes, everyone has an opinion.
Yeah,
right?
really
Everyone
do.
has an opinion. There are a group of people out there that love that I homeschool. And there's a group of people that absolutely hate it. And so at the end of the day, honestly, actually one of the biggest pillars of self-worth, it's at the top of what we call the pyramid of self-worth for a reason, is apples to apples comparison. Do not compare to someone who has different values than you. Do not compare to someone who is in a different season of life than you. I should only ever be comparing to people who are ahead of me on the journey that I want to be on. And I'm only comparing for inspiration, not detriment. And so if I'm, let's look at fitness journey. That's a really good example. So me as a homeschooling mother of 2 who lives on a dirt road in a small town with no gym, and I'm pushing 40, and I'm watching someone on Instagram who's in their early 20s, has no kids, and has a gym in her apartment building, and I'm comparing our fitness journeys. What a detriment. No, oh my goodness, no, that's not. But if I can look at someone and say, oh my gosh, she's a homeschooling mom as well, who also prioritizes fitness and things, I would love to be inspired by her, because if she can do it, then maybe I can do it too. 2 different things. One is building self-worth. One is absolutely detrimental.
I feel like social media as a whole is incredibly detrimental to a lot of people. I know it's detrimental to me, especially like even just to kind of talk in the podcast sense. Like, you know, you get all these podcasters that start out and they've decided to spend like the thousands on a new camera and, you know, stuff like that. And I'm here, like, I decided to upgrade my audio equipment before I did my camera equipment. And then in doing that, I'm like, I can't ask the like big podcast guest to be on because I have a, you know, $60 Logitech camera like webcam right now. And it's like, no. Like, you're only being viewed on one platform, which happens to be Spotify. The rest of it is audio. So who cares? And it's really hard to kind of be like, I should have like spent $3,000 on like a camera and a monitor and this, that, and the third. And it's like, you know, my priority was my audio equipment. And even then, half the time it doesn't want to work. But it's just like you're constantly comparing, and then you're constantly comparing the fitness journeys and how like this girl's body looks to your body, and you know how, you know, these influencers that are like, oh, a day in the life, and it's like, okay, well, they don't factor in like mental health, and it's just, social media is the bane of my existence. I hate posting on it, which is, I got to get better at it because of this podcast. I'm like, I need to start posting on my damn Instagram for once in my damn life. But it's just, you get on and you just wind up doom scrolling, and then the doom scrolling like, you know, it's the bane of my existence. I hate it. I'm with Ellen. I hate social media.
Oh, same. It's really helped me to try and see it as a tool for connection. And even then I struggle. The goal is always to post every day and all of these things, but oh my gosh, same. Like, social media is just not a natural thing for me. I am rarely ever in a moment being like, oh, I should pull out my phone and record this. And it's not. However, nowadays, if you don't have an Instagram or an online presence, it's like not having a resume. It's like not having, so it's become this tool. Now, what's really valuable is if you can learn to build your self-belief and build your self-worth and learn to not compare to these other people, then it can be a tool. It can be a space of learning. It can be a space of inspiration, but we have to build ourselves up into the people who can do that instead of having it be a detriment. And genuinely, more people need to see more people like you, because they don't believe that they can start something like this because of the people who start with these perfectionism mentalities. Whereas the majority of us need permission to start messy.
Yep.
We
A
need
thousand
permission
percent.
to just start something and understand that it's never going to be as good as someone's iteration of something versus their first. If you ever want to compare on like a journey of, let's even just use podcasting, don't go to Alan and Kevin's 1400th episode. Go to their first one. It's garbage.
I sometimes like go through my first season where I have like 4 to 5 minute episodes, and I'm like, it's great because it's like short. And I'm like, there was no substance on this. I was literally throwing out content just to like throw it out. And it's made me want to kind of like expand on it more. But at the same time, I keep my first season there because I'm like, people need to know that nobody started out worse than I did. Literally
Yes.
sitting there rambling with a script in my hand, like hoping that I sounded coherent. And now I'm just like, you know what? We're going to wing it. If I'm literally like on a recording being like, how do I want to word this? Then that's just how it is. Because honestly, the only editing I do is to just like take out big ass pauses. But other than that, I'm like, we're just rolling with it. If my cat comes across the camera, fine. If like I'm sitting there, stumbling over my words like I did earlier in this episode, that's what it is. And I think that's helped other people to get rid of the perfectionism, but it's also forced me to get rid of the perfectionism end of it because
Yeah.
I have to like teach myself, if that makes any sense.
It does, because we actually can't get better at something without being messy and
Mm-mm.
imperfect to start. And what is perfect? Like, what a load of crap that is, anyways. But you needed those things in the beginning to get to where you are now.
Yep.
But you look back and you're like,
1,000%.
oh, that sucks so bad. But how can we look back and be like, oh, without doing that to begin with, I wouldn't be as good as I am now? And honestly, everything we look back on, that should be the goal. Have I gotten
Mm-hmm.
better? Yes. Awesome. Is this garbage compared to what I put out now? Yes. Awesome. Like, use it as a level of, okay,
Exactly.
look at how far I've come, and I needed to do all of that messiness to get to where I am. And how can I be excited now, trusting that in a year from now, in 2 years from now, I'm going to look back at what I'm doing right now as trash because I continue to get better.
Exactly that. Exactly that. But to kind of circle back, actually, we were talking about homeschooling. What was your reason for getting into it? Especially because, you have your group of people that are like, yeah, you homeschool, and the other people that are like, oh my God, you homeschool. And for the record, I grew up homeschooled. I did 2 years in public school. My sister did 0. Like we were homeschooling before it was cool. But also like we were in activities and stuff like that, but we definitely got the whole like, oh my God, so you have like 14 siblings and you must be really socially awkward and everything else. And I'm socially awkward because that's who I am, not because I was homeschooled. Okay. But what was your guys' reasoning for homeschooling? Was that kind of like a from jump parenting decision, or was that something that came up over time kind of thing?
Yeah, it was something that came up over a short amount of time, though. So,
Mm-hmm.
same, we started homeschooling before COVID, so before it was cool. And so my oldest did some time in school. My youngest has never been to school.
Mm-hmm.
And so my son, my oldest, is born late November. And so already he went into school younger than everybody else. So we let him do the first half up until the Christmas break. And then we were like, you know what? I don't feel like he's ready for this. And the teacher's like, oh, we always just push them along. I'm like, ew, no. You know what? I have the freedom to do this. We're going to take him out and put him in next season. So he's experienced it. We're going to put him in next season. And so then we did. He did a full season of kindergarten. I was in BC, so it was kindergarten. Still, though, we kept him home on average like 1 day a week, just because we like to do cool things and we like to
Yeah.
go and be in
Yeah.
nature and we like to go and do all of this stuff. And he was tired. Little guy was exhausted being away from us 5 days a week for the full day. And I was just like, it broke my heart, honestly. And then by the time, and there was some experiences then in school that we did not agree with, that there was things that scared him. They did these drills one time where they made them hide in the dark. And the principal came and banged on the door and pretended like he was a monster, and they didn't prep them for this at all. And me knowing my son, if I had known that was happening, I would have kept him home for the day because
Yeah.
I couldn't get him to go back to school for a week.
Yeah.
The little guy's 5. What are we doing? This is supposed to be taught that this is a safe environment for them to go to every day. If you want to do drills, let's do them in a way that's not going to scare them. Let's not treat the kindergartners like we're treating the grade 7s. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I could talk about this for a long time. Can you see I'm a
Yeah, me
little
both.
bitter? But it was just things like that. And then by the time it was time to go back to grade 1, I could barely get him to go. He just didn't want to be there. It wasn't his kind of environment. And when I asked the school to like help me help him and like let me bring him in on days where he's feeling good and let me keep him home on days where he's not, like let's ease him in and make this work, they were unwilling to work with me. Wasn't allowed in the classroom, which is fine. But I said one day, if he struggles, I think this was the first full day that he committed to going to. And I said, if he struggles at all, let's celebrate the fact that he did half a day and I will come get him. I lived 5 doors from the school. I can be here in 2 minutes.
Right.
And I went the whole day and I didn't hear from them. So I thought it went really well. When I went to pick him up after school, he was playing in the playground with his little friends. So I went and talked to the teacher. I said, okay, how'd the day go? And they said, oh, he had a really hard day. He really wanted to call you and come home, but we told him he couldn't. And so then he started crying. So we kept him in the office away from the other children until he was able to calm down. And then we made him stay. I was like, I expressed specifically to you. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So by the end, she was so rude and mean to me. And she ended the conversation with, if he can't be here tomorrow with a smile on his face, he shouldn't be here. I said, oh my goodness. Thank you so much for making this decision for us. He will not be back.
Yeah,
Oh,
literally.
well, no, he should. No, that's it. He will not be back.
Yeah.
And I went home and I was just like, oh, shit, what did I just do? Because we had never really put in any kind of plan. And my husband came home. I was like, so here's what happened. And he was like, that is great. That's great. Let's go out to dinner. We took Maverick to his favorite restaurant and told him he never had to go back again if he didn't want to. And we celebrated. And it was beautiful, and we have never been involved since. And you know, the school kept calling us, oh, are the kids going to be in school with us this year? No, absolutely not. And then COVID happened, and they were like, oh, we create such a safe environment. Don't worry. We're sanitizing every hour. We have a containment room. If there's even a hint of a sniffle, we instantly barricade them away from everybody else. I'm like, sir, I need you to understand that you are saying every reason I would never bring my kid back to your school. I need you to stop calling me. Literally, I need you to stop. And then, yeah. So I went on this beautiful journey of self-development and all these things, and I discovered my core values. And it turns out my number one core value is freedom. And you can see it in so many aspects of my life. And so honestly, if you do any work to start, if you're on your beginning of your self-improvement journey or your self-awareness and self-understanding journey, heck, even a self-acceptance journey, do the work to find out what your core values are. Because understanding that my core value, the top one, is freedom, made so much sense. And now when I make decisions in my life, I have a map. I have a guide. And now I can look back on my decisions in life and be like, oh, why didn't this decision work for me? Oh, because it went against my core value of freedom. And now it's just like this roadmap, like freedom, growth, love, and integrity are my top 4. And now that I have that map, it's like, oh, this makes sense, even though it sounded like a good idea at the time, or this person seemed really aligned at the time or anything. Now it makes sense why they didn't or why it didn't. And it just gives you so much permission to run your life the way you want to, the way that feels most aligned. And so that was really cool to look back on in hindsight.
And like just a slight shout out that you had homeschooling is a privilege. Definitely is a privilege. Like not everybody has the means or the availability or the super supportive partner that came home and went, well, I guess we're doing this. Like not everyone has that. Like I understood. I know that you wouldn't be like slamming public school at all because some people have great experiences with public school. It just did not work for you. And didn't really work for my sister because of, you know, a couple of things with, you know, preschool and stuff like that. Like his teachers were phenomenal, school district phenomenal, but you know, things just, you just kind of realize his learning style and you're just like, that's not going to work very cohesively with the way that the public school system is set up. so it was just easier. And my sister thankfully had the flexibility and the freedom to be able to kind of step back from what she does and be able to homeschool. And this kid's thriving, absolutely thriving. He's so smart. It's kind of like the unschooling that people are, because it's just like we do more practical. And when I say we, just because like I am, the aunt that's around the most, and I'm basically the second parent, or third parent. He has a fully functioning present father that I adore to pieces. So let's not say that. I'm like the second mom. There we go. Oh my God. I really hope Mike isn't listening to this, because I'm sorry. He knows though. He knows. He's aware. But what does a typical like day in homeschooling look like for you, even including your you time? Because obviously when you are momming 24/7, how does all of that look?
Oh yeah, it's a hot mess regularly.
Yeah, there's no like those homeschool influencers. Like, no, your schoolroom and your school day does not look like that. I promise you.
It sure as shit doesn't. Oh my God. No, not here. Not here. I wouldn't be able to do all the things that I love to do and the things that we love to do if we tried to structure our life like that.
Mhm.
And like right now, I would say we're in a heavier school season because it's cold. It's really cold here right now. So we're not outside as much. So we leverage that time to do more things inside. But when it's summer and even fall's beautiful here. We're not doing as much work because it's better to be outside. I'd rather my kids be adventuring and be in the river and fishing and doing all the things that we love to do instead of, being forced inside. So it's very much as I have this like joke of a schedule up on our whiteboard. Again, we only follow it probably 50% of the time, because if something comes up where, I mean, even today, my mom called and said, "Hey, I would love to take the boys out on the ice. It's a sunny day. They live on the river. So can we take them skating?" Absolutely. We put the books away. They're going skating. I'm here.
Right.
It's very fluid. It's however it feels. We try not to do too much with resistance. As much as I want to teach my kids to do hard things, even when they don't want to, and all of these other things, like it's really important to do that. But we have a nice flow and harmony in that way. I don't want to say balance, because balance, what a BS word that is.
We'll get to that.
I'm excited. I know you like that one.
I love it.
It is. It's genuinely just this beautiful way of living our life. And so I do my best to schedule my work around having the kids home. Like there's something in the middle of the day right now, but that's because my kids are older now. So they can go and be self-sufficient on for an hour if you and I were doing this and they were home instead of skating with their grandparents right now, which I'm also understanding very privileged to have active grandparents. It's very much based on, okay, what does today look like? How's everyone doing? How's everyone feeling? What's the most important use of our time right now?
And to kind of like jump off of what you said with like during the summer and like fall and stuff, when it's nice out and you're like on the river, there's still a way to educate there. Like you can be identifying trees and plants and fish and animals and tracks, and learning different survival skills, and just being able to tell when like an animal's around that you need to be more cautious. Like there's so many like educational things when it comes to just existing that you can't get in like a science book or a history book, or something like that. Like I know with fractions and stuff like that, we're going to be baking and learning how to convert like this fraction and this, and there's so many practical ways to show that doesn't involve bookwork.
And I feel like at the end of the day, that's setting them up for so much success, because how many times do you meet an adult being like, didn't learn much in school that actually helped me for real life? Whereas if you can come in and apply these to real life, same with like fractions, understanding, okay, there's 3 sections to our drive to the lake, for example, our favorite lake we love to go to. It kind of gets broken down into 3 20-minute sections. So I'll say, okay, the first third of our drive is done, 2/3 to go, right? And now they know where we are when I say that, because I say it so often because I'm a lame mom like that. I only have so much repertoire, and it's good like this. And they can fish. They know so much about animals, so much about nature, so much about science. Science is their favorite. But it's that I feel like I'm raising competent, emotionally intelligent humans. And at the end of the day, if they have those 2 skills, they can flow into what they enjoy as they get older.
Exactly. Like, yeah, there's always traditional bookwork, but if we can make it fun or make it practical, On top of the fact that, like, I mean, I'm 33 years old. I still could not tell you how to do my damn taxes.
Oh yeah, I
Like,
pay someone to do that, because no.
I literally pay someone who paid to go to school to do that. Like, I don't, like, just throw a number at me. I'm paying you because I don't want to do it. But it's like, I know when I was in school, like home economics, you would have thought was economics and doing your taxes and all of that. No, I know how to make a crab ragoon, but I do not know how to do my taxes. It's strange. And I'm just like, there's not, I get that, like, because the system is the system, but I do love that the way homeschooling allows you to kind of have more life lessons
Mm-hmm.
and more organic learning than, okay, well, today on the docket, it is this because we have to cram all of this into 1 year. And, well,
Yeah. What really helped me with my mentality in homeschooling was the fact that even if there are, let's say there's 3 grade 2 classes in one school, those 3 classes are going to learn different things.
they are.
So that was really helpful to me, because it's like, how do I know that I'm teaching them the things that all the other grade 2s are learning? And so I talked to a bunch of teachers. They're like, oh, this curriculum that I use in my classroom is different than the one in the other grade 2 classroom, because we get to pick. Yes, there's a broad curriculum for them to pick from, but they get to pick and choose what from that. So different classrooms are going to read different books. They're going to do different project and studies. They're going to do different things. And so that gave me a lot of reassurance that I can kind of just, as long as they're learning their basic skills, I can pick and choose what that looks like. So if they're really interested in like Vikings right now. So I'm teaching them different things through the lens of what Vikings do. It's cool. It's so cool. I can tailor what they're learning to their interests, and it keeps them
Yeah.
engaged.
Well, and that's history. It's literally something that is actually in history books. So it's like you don't have to go in like chronological order like that. You still I remember 1 year in high school my literature was, because I love Shakespeare. I have a Shakespeare tattoo. Like, that is how white girl obsessed with Shakespeare I am. So, but there was 1 year that for literature, instead of like the traditional, like, I'm going to tell you right now, I never read The Great Gatsby. I never read any of those classic like, books you needed to read in high school, because my literature was reading the original Shakespeare plays, then reading the Cliff Notes version, then watching a movie adaptation, and then I would do a report or a paper comparing the three. And that was my literature for the year. And I loved it. It was some of my favorite memories with my mom was watching A Midsummer's Night Dream and, the movie adaptation. And some of these were from the 70s and absolutely terrible, but they were great. And I will say one of my favorite movies of all time is the Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes version of Romeo and Juliet, because it was like that Miami, like mob, like gangster kind of thing with the original script. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. That movie is terrible, but the best. And I wouldn't have discovered that had I not been able to just kind of do things my way for that year. And it's just that fueled my love of Shakespeare, my love of theater, and all of that. And I'm just so freaking grateful. I used to hate being homeschooled. I really did. I was like, it was just awful. And now I'm looking back and I'm like, yeah, it wasn't that bad. And I don't know if it's just like enough time has passed that I've forgotten, or, it actually wasn't that bad. But either way.
I think we have different appreciations for things when we're older. We can look back at things. Like now I can think of things that I would have gotten really mad at my parents for not letting me do. And yet there's no way in hell I would let my own kids do that. So I get it now.
Yeah, no, I get it now. Some things that like I thought, like, just for context, like when you watch The Little Mermaid, she's like, I'm not a child anymore. I'm like, you're 16, sit down. And I'm like, oh my God.
Right?
Like, I've officially hit that age.
But when you're 16, you're like, yeah, go for it, girl.
Yeah, you're like, you're right. You're not a child. You are almost an adult. And I'm just like, even when you're like 21, you're still a child, okay?
Definitely. Definitely. And now you look back and you're like, I don't know. Your dad's got a point.
Yeah. But so when you start agreeing with your parents, it's over. It's just over.
Even I asked my mom that not too long ago. I'm like, how did you let me travel to Thailand when I was 18? What?
Sometimes I think it's a good mixture of they didn't really let you. They were just like, you're going to do it anyway. So, like, Godspeed.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what she said. She's like, well, luckily you were, a responsible-ish child. And, she had all these things. She's like, but it was really hard. I'm like, I can't imagine how hard that would have been to have me on the other side of the world for weeks and weeks and weeks and only listening. Like, I checked in by email like once a week if we were lucky. Now I'm looking at my kids like, absolutely not.
Yeah, no. But now I'm 33 with Life 360 with, my ex-husband, my sister, my brother-in-law, and I, and we're all like, it's like a running joke that I can't ever go back to an ex because Life 360 exists and so does my sister. Like when I was in my 20s, I could get away with stuff like that because she didn't have my location. And now I get a phone call. She's like, "Oh, I see you're in Wegmans. Can you like pick up XYZ?" It's like, oh God, Life 360 was supposed to be for like wayward teenagers. And now it's just to like, see if somebody's at the store to pick up something or like if they're home so I can call or something like that. It's just like, this is the day and age we're in.
Right? Yeah, I didn't have a cell phone going that I could.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I know I couldn't imagine now. So it'd be very different now, I guess, too, but still. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of life is a crapshoot. Genuinely, I think we're all doing our best. I hope we're all doing our best when we can. And are we getting better? I think that's always the goal is can I do something a little bit better? Like, I apologize to my kids all the time. I said to Maverick the other day, you know what? This is my first time as a mom of a 12-year-old dealing with this problem. So we're going to figure it out together. And I think that's empowering them for when they're older to not assume that as just because you're an adult, you have everything together. Because as an adult who's almost 40, I don't know everything. And when I was a kid and I looked at the adults, I was like, oh, that's when you have it all figured out. Right? Absolutely not. So I don't ever want my kids reaching adulthood thinking, oh, they should have figured something out by now, when we're in reality, we're all just learning, hopefully, all the time. And so that's kind of the mission and the goal I'm instilling into my kids is that we're not perfect. We're all learning and we can continue no matter what age we are to get better.
Exactly. And I think that also just helps when it comes to as someone that kind of had a more difficult childhood that didn't have parents that said, "Hey, we're going to figure this out together." It was like it was always a me problem. And I think with telling your son like this is my first time, but like cuz I'm an oldest child as well. So it's like it was, "Hey, this is my first time." But like it was more like, "Oh, well, you're the guinea pig. So if we fail miserably, like oops." And if they had said, "Hey, we're going to figure this out together," I think that would have really helped bridge some gaps with communication and stuff like that. So I really love that that's what you're doing because I think that's really going to help, maintain a relationship with your kids like 10 years from now.
Oh, I hope so.
So, but to kind of circle back just a touch to when I said we would get to it, it was actually on last week's episode because I'd heard you say this earlier this year on the 32 things I learned at 32. And one of them was balance is bullshit. And that is literally, you said that in a group call like way earlier at the beginning of 2024. And it is stuck with me so hard. So what did you mean by that?
Yeah. So even we'll continue to use my lifestyle as an example, as a homeschooling mom who's also into adding as much value into the world as possible, working with people, partnering with NLU, all of these great things that I have the privilege to do. I can never expect to balance my work life and my home life. Balance says and assumes that you can be things equally all at once. And what a load of crap. I am not
Literally.
being the best mother of all time right now. I'm not present with my children right now at all. Now, motherhood's somewhat of a poor example because you always have that hat on. You always have that hat on slightly. But I am not with my children right now. Right now, my focus is here. I am putting momentum into my craft of speaking, my desire of adding as much free value into the world as possible, all sorts of things. And those are a different hat that I wear. And so I urge people constantly, especially women, because they're constantly saying, oh, if I could just have work home balance, if I could just have balance between being a mother and a wife and all these things. Well, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You got to learn to let that shit go, honestly, because you can't be all of those things all at once equally. It's impossible. And you're going to constantly feel defeated and like you're failing if you're chasing that balance that doesn't exist. Now, what we can strive for is flow. We can strive for harmony. We can strive for the capacity and the capability to be able to flow in and out of each of these hats that we wear and trust the momentum that we leave one with. And so what I love is the analogy of the person with the spinning plates. You've seen those people, they're holding sticks and they're
Yep.
plates and they've got all this stuff going on. One's in their mouth, one's in their hands. It's crazy. However, they can't spin all the plates all at once. And so right this morning was all mom. I was giving momentum to that plate all morning. The kids and I had the whole most of the day together already, where we did school and we did some chores and we did some reading and we did some snuggling. We watched a show, like all of these things. That's me giving momentum to that. And now I've stepped away from that plate, trusting that the momentum I gave it this morning is still going to carry on until when that hat comes back on. And right now I'm over here spinning this other plate, my passion, my purpose, this, all of these things. And later it's going to step into, when Chris comes home, now I'm also spinning wife plate. It's a whole thing. The secret is that, one, you're the one spinning all the plates. So at the end of the day, you still have to be taking care of this. You have to be taking care of you, because at the end of the day, if you fall, all of the plates that you hold so dearly fall. And the other part of that is, what if you only allowed yourself to have like 3 to 5 at most glass plates? That it actually matters if those plates fall. And what other hats, plates, however you want to keep going into the analogy, plates are plastic, where if they fall, it's okay if they fall, because they're not going to shatter, and you can bend down and pick those up when you have the space to do so.
I love that analogy.
Right? So my glass plates that I don't like to lose momentum in, that I prioritize over other plastic plates, is of my children, my home life, how we all feel and how we're all doing. That matters. That's a glass plate for me for sure. My health is a glass plate for me. As someone who grew up very sick, a glass plate is my health. I have that in momentum all the time. I'm touching in on that every day. How can I pour into my physical being right now? My marriage, super important to me. That's a glass plate, right? Other things like, the laundry has turned into a plastic plate, because I can't be expected to do all of these things as a homeschooling mom, entrepreneur of NLU, all of these other beautiful things I get to do, and have the laundry be a priority as much as these other things. So sometimes the laundry doesn't get done for like a week. And that is what it is. That was the plastic plate that I dropped all week because I was busy with these other things that needed more of my attention. And I can pick that up later when I have capacity to do so.
Yeah, or we run out of pants, whichever comes first.
We ran out of pants. My youngest ran out of pants the other day. I was like, can you just like find the cleanest of the dirty pants? Like, I feel like you guys have been inside a lot lately. How dirty can they be? Grace, permission, flow, messiness. You can't have the kind of abundant life without that kind of mindset sometimes. Nothing can be perfect. If you expect things to be perfect all the time, you're actually living in, oh my gosh, what's the opposite of abundance? Scarcity. Scarcity. See,
I was going to say delusion, but yeah.
Delusion is good as well. But you're living in scarcity. You're constantly living in scarcity. You're not living in abundance at all, because you're trying to do all of these things all at once equally. And what a load of crap. And so, how much grace, understanding, and permission can you give yourself to designate your glass plates and flow in between those, giving them momentum as they need, and letting the other ones be plastic, and do what you can to pick them up when you need to, and then touching in on the plate spinner. The plate spinner is you, and you need to touch in with yourself every day. As much as we talk about self-care being, like go to the spa, have a girls' weekend once a month. That's not even a reality. Once every 6 months. We look at self-care as this big elaborate thing that we have to do, when in reality, it is best done daily. And to be done daily, it has to be small. It has to be sustainable. But it's that saying, there's an apple a day is better than 7 on Sunday. It's that. It's what can you do for little moments. And I think you asked me, how am I taking care of me in all of this? It's that. It's intention. It's intention of having touch points with myself every day. I constantly empower women with the question to ask themselves, what do I need in this moment? And to get into the habit of doing that. And then whatever answer comes to mind, not rejecting the answer. What do I need in this moment? Oh, I need a cup of tea. Great. What a great moment with intention can that be for yourself? Yes, you could go mindlessly put the kettle on, grab a mug, grab whatever tea, warm it up 6 times because you didn't pay attention to it. Or, what tea does my body need right now? I'm very into herbs and using a lot of things for my body. So it's a whole ritual. What does my body need in this moment? Oh, it's this tea. What mug do I feel like today? Is it rainbows and sunshine, or is it this kind of black one? Ooh, it's the black one. Yes. Moody. I love it. Okay. Now, boil the water, make the tea, sit with my tea while it is warm. My children know that when I'm having that specific cup of tea, you can come be around me. We can hang out. You can be a part of it, but I'm not going to get up and get your 10 different snacks that you want in this moment. This is for mommy right now. Come be a part of it, but you also have to wait. And so just those kind of things. A cup of tea can turn into a really powerful intention moment for yourself. Your skincare in the morning or the evening, a shower, an extra 5 minutes in your shower just because you need it, is like all of those things can be seen as self-care with the right intention. And so where can you be pouring into yourself every day with these little moments of intention that's going to actually help you be fueled and be giving people your best self versus what is left of you? It's the difference between giving what is best of you versus giving what is left of you. It's wild what it can do.
I think that like we need to harp on that a little, giving the best of you versus giving the rest of you or what's left of you. That's a big one. I'm going to go write that down and like put it up here somewhere. Because I need to remember that. That's a big reminder for me because I have said multiple times, like, I got nothing left. Like I can't. My empathy meter is tanked. Like I'm done. I can't today.
Mm-hmm.
And while that's a like boundary, air quotes, that like I can't give anymore, I need to stop getting myself to that limit. I need to stop getting there and go, I got nothing left because if I don't have anything left, then I don't have anything left for me. And I am the most important person in my life. That's very hard to remember in this day and age where, the hustle culture and this, that, and the third. And, I got 3 hours of sleep and I'm running on caffeine and Spite. Like,
where's my badge?
Yeah, like there's no medal at the end of this. You're just tired and really cranky.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so to kind of wrap it up, we've been talking sustainable holistic methods. We just talked about all of this. What is a good place to start with all of that for somebody that's like, you know what, I need to prioritize me, whether it be a cup of tea or 5 minutes of reading. Like how does somebody start making that a habit or just a part that they can carve out of their day? Or however I'm trying to ask this question that I know you're picking up what I'm putting down.
You know it. So anything that you want to actually turn into a habit, it needs to be small and sustainable to start. So leveraging something called the compound effect is always going to be the thing that saves you in the end. As much as we would love to say, okay, well, to start, for me, I'm going to have a whole morning routine. That's what I'm going to do for myself. Usually I wake up around 7:30, but now I'm going to start waking up at 5 a.m. and have all this stuff for me. You're going to last 3 days and then hate your life. Genuinely.
3 days is bold.
I know. Assumption. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I'm like, that is a lie. You're going to last a day and a half and you're going to be tired. And then what you're going to do is convince yourself that this thing that I desire is actually not for me. When in reality, you set yourself up for failure. You did not set yourself up for success. If you're used to waking up at 7:30 in the morning, you're now going to set your alarm till 7:15. And you're going to do that until you don't notice it anymore. Now use those extra 15 minutes however you please. Don't try and cram in a bunch of things. Maybe it's just, an extra hot cup of coffee that you can just sit and relax in. Now, again, that's against my being right now, even to tell women to have caffeine before food in the morning, but that's women's health and we can get into that maybe another time. But whatever it is, and then move to 7 a.m. and now you have that half hour. What are you going to do for yourself in that half hour? Okay. Now you have 7 or 6:45. Okay. That's time for maybe some yoga. You want to add some yoga in, but don't do it all at once. Like that should be over like a 3-month period. Start embarrassingly small, because what that does is it builds self-belief. If you can start embarrassingly small and actually create sustainable habits, you're going to build the self-belief that you need to do harder and bigger and better things. And so embarrassingly small, I'm going to have a 5-minute cup of tea for myself today. I'm going to have extra 3 minutes in my shower. I'm going to do a skincare routine tonight for myself that's only going to take 5 minutes, because if I start a half-hour skincare routine and tell myself I'm going to do that every day, it's delusion. You're not going to make it.
Yeah, no. I'm a licensed esthetician and I don't have a half-hour skincare routine. It's not.
And again, maybe you have the kind of lifestyle where that's allotted to you, but maybe you don't. Maybe you're like me, who's trying to do all the things. And I believe I can do them, and I can do them well as long as I'm taking care of myself and I'm honoring my glass plates and allowing everything else to fall away if it needs to, because that's reality. And I have small sustainable things. I have so many small sustainable things now. My life is a small sustainable habit every day. I have tons of things that I do every day that I bet you I don't even notice anymore, because they were built through humility, through an accurate self-awareness of, if I don't start this right, I'm not going to keep going.
Exactly.
So how can you give yourself permission for messy action, starting small and building from there?
Amy, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
This has been a blast, and we will absolutely be having another conversation about women's health and all of that, because I feel like that is that is a hamster wheel that we can just roll down, all about women, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we will absolutely be having you back at some point. But thank you again so much for hopping on HME. We adore ya.
Thank you.